Ghana is facing very precarious fiscals and all of that. So from July 1 to December 13, it's been a pretty condensed period of time. So Mr. Roudet is in Ghana. Yesterday he held a press conference with the Minister of Finance to announce what they call a staff level agreement. So just want to get some quick crossing of T's and dotting of I's. And since you're the Frenchman, you ask the first question in French.
I don't want to ask him. Bonjour, Monsieur Roudet. Comment vous allez?
Bonjour. Good morning, Bernard. Good morning, everyone. And,
Thank you.
Good morning to all Ghanaians and your audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So based on the timeline I gave, from July 1, when our president announced the intention, at what point did the staff come in? At what point did your work begin?
We started very quickly after the request from the authorities. We were able to send to Accra from Washington a mission very soon after the request. And really, I have to say, since then, we have engaged very closely with the Ghanaian authorities, both here in Accra, in the context of various missions, visits, but also in Washington. And I have to say, almost, sometimes on a daily basis, virtually as well.
I see. One of the things that baffles me is usually Ghana is a member of the IMF, and usually as members, we usually have representations, we send information back and forth. So why does a mission have to come to town when there's a program being contemplated? Because I thought you already talked to the Minister of Finance, you already talked to the Bank of Ghana.
You have
already
access
sent
to information.
So why does a mission have to specially come in with their briefcases and come and start working before a program?
Well, I think the main reason is that to be effective and to really understand the circumstances of the country, the best for us is to engage with a broad range of stakeholders. So we don't just talk to the government. First of all, within the government, within the we engage with a number of institutions, with other ministries, with Parliament, the Finance Committee, but we also engage with other stakeholders, civil society, unions, representatives of the private sector. It's very important for us to get a sense of what is really happening on the ground, to be able to have a program that will address the problems that the Ghanaians are facing, to be able to engage with as range a groups of people as possible.
Now, during these information sessions or these discussions with governments and whoever, what kind of information do you ask for as to help you with your work? What do you ask from, say, okay, what did you ask from, say, the Ministry of Finance or the government in this period so you can also do your work well?
So there's various aspects that that we discuss in these conversations, and with it depends on the stakeholders, but we want to understand their perspective on what is the situation of the economy, what are the challenges that are tackled, and then we also want to understand, and now that I'm talking mainly about the government and government officials, what are their plans to tackle these problems? Because at the end of the day, what the IMF does is not to come to countries and tell them what to do. What the IMF does is to come to countries, understand what the authorities are willing to do and what they want to do to address their problems, and to support them in addressing these problems.
We know that Ghana had balance of payment problems, and it was said that before the IMF would lend money to us, we had to do a debt sustainability analysis. What does that mean?
Well, for the IMF to be able to lend to a country, it is very important for the institution to be comfortable and make sure that debt is going to be sustainable going forward. It means that the government will be able to repay its debt, on a sustainable basis over the medium term. So that's really something that is very important for us to be able to land. And so lots of discussions are about, what type of policies need to be implemented to ensure that.
So it's not a given that once the president announces that we are engaging the IMF and your team comes to town, it's not given that there will be lending. It doesn't mean there will be a program. The program is premised on, in our case, a DSI. In other cases, it could be something else. I just want to get that clarity. That it's not a guarantee that there was going to be a program when you started your work.
Well, what is important, what brings us to the point where we have where we are now, the staff level agreement, which is really a milestone towards the program of the fund. What is important more broadly is that we have an understanding, an agreement on the policies that the government will implement. These policies, we want to make sure that they will deliver on the objectives of the program. And here, more broadly, of course, debt sustainability is one of the objectives of the program, but more generally, restoring macroeconomic stability is critical. That means bringing down inflation. That means making sure that public finances are on a sustainable track, that debt is viable. So all of these aspects are very important.
This is one of the quickest you've arrived at a conclusion at staff level, at least for Ghana's case. It usually takes longer. Is this correct? And if it is, what accounted for this?
I think I'd say probably the intensity of the engagement that we've had from the very beginning, from July. All of these missions sometimes, people in Ghana, they don't necessarily see that this is delivering because there is nothing to announce at the end of a mission. But the progress that is made in this context in terms of understanding what the challenges are, understanding what the authorities are going to do in terms of on the policy front to address these challenges is very important. That's what allowed us to make progress rapidly.
Is there a sense that the general leadership of the IMF beyond the staff really want to do this? I'm asking because I remember in Washington, the IMF managing director was very clear. She said in Ghana needs help from the IMF. She says our problems are caused by COVID and the Russia-Ukraine crisis. She sort of sent some signal. Even a couple of days ago, we heard the U.S. ambassador say that if Ghana gets a staff level agreement, the U.S. will support at the board level. Is there a sense in Washington that even before your work, there was some eagerness, possibly because of the geopolitical situation in the sub-region, that they can't allow Ghana to get to the brink of, say, Sri Lanka, so they had to do something?
Well, the short answer is yes. There is some eagerness to help Ghana, of course. Everybody is well aware of the hardship that the people of Ghana are experiencing these days, and it is very important for us to help in this context.
So now that the staff level agreement has been announced, what usually follows, or what's the next thing we should expect?
So now the next step will be to try to bring the program request to our executive board.
Okay.
And once it is approved, of course, we can start with disbursing the money. What is needed for us to be able to bring that request to the board is what we call financing assurances. It's the board. For the board to be able to approve a program, it needs to have some degree of comfort that development partners will come and help finance the program.
Okay.
It's important to make sure that it's not just the IMF that is going to come, but that it catalyzes financing from other partners so that the government can actually implement this program, sustain its operations and activities. That's one aspect. The second aspect is for the executive board to also have some comfort about the fact that debt will be put on a sustainable path going forward, achieving sustainability over the medium term. That is the objective, and so some comfort from creditors that some relief will be provided that is consistent with this debt
on that point.
objective.
Two things I found to be odd. Before the announcement, the graphic had done a story that as of 12 December, nobody had signed up for the debt exchange program. I thought that would concern you, but it appears it's not a big concern because I feel the debt exchange program is probably the main vehicle to attaining the sustainability among others. If the day before you announced the staff agreement, nobody had taken up at least not publicly, most people had said they weren't going to agree. Was that not a concern? And second question, again, the government hasn't given the details of an external debt restructuring. They just said they are engaging. Would you not need those two assurances before you would announce the staff level agreement?
So I think on the domestic side, you're referring to the domestic debt exchange. It's not for us to speculate what creditors will decide eventually. We are just in the middle of the process here. So I think the best thing to do is to let the government and its creditors discuss the offer that have made. On the external side, the details of the authorities' intentions have not been announced yet. But something that I would like to emphasize is that the IMF is very concerned about the overall picture, making sure that the strategy eventually will deliver on debt sustainability. But the details of how this debt restructuring is being implemented, what type of debts are being relationships with the creditor, whether domestic or external, the parameters of the debt operation, what type of relief the government will be seeking from the different creditors. All of that is really very much for the government to decide. These are all sovereign decisions.
So you are just looking at the outcome, not the details of the specificities of whether it's a tenor extension, whether it's a time extension or interest rate cut. You are looking at the top lines. Is that what you're saying?
There are broad objectives when it comes to debt sustainability, and this is those that we are really want to make sure these will be achieved.
So is your work done in Ghana? Or you come back and announce that the board has agreed? Is your work done?
No, we it's never done. There's always more to do, and of course, it's our role to support the government also during this period and to continue to engage.
I mean, I'm sure whatever he's doing tonight, he'll be watching Mbappe versus Morocco.
Versus Morocco, yeah.
How nervous are you?
No doubt.
Confident France will win tonight.
Hopeful, I would say.
Yeah, hopeful.
It would be amazing if France were able to defend the title because only the Brazilians have been able to do that.
62.
Yeah,
So
I'm supporting Morocco anyway. I mean, I want you to lose, not because I don't like you. I want Morocco to win, but that's nothing personal.
Watch what you're saying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That was the IMF
Mission
chief for Ghana. They announced the staff level agreement. What was it, yesterday?
Yesterday.
Amazing.
Press conference.
And
the finance minister
he is saying that the board is left to the board and of course with the sovereign, that's Ghana, to decide what happens. Thank you, sir, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and I want to take that opportunity to wish you all happy holidays as well. You and your audience. So
Fantastic.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you so much. That was Stéphane Roudet.
Stéphane Roudet.
Stéphane Roudet.